From Washington, this is VOA News. Iraq's government takes to the air to battle al-Qaeda in Anbar province. And Egypt's ousted Islamist President Mohamed Morsi prepares to go back on trial. I'm Michael Lipin reporting from Washington. The Iraqi government says it has killed more than 20 militants in an airstrike near the al-Qaeda-held cities of Ramadi and Fallujah. An Iraqi military official told the Associated Press that Tuesday's airstrike targeted the al-Qaeda Operations Center in Ramadi, capital of the Sunni-dominated Anbar province. Al-Qaeda militants seized Ramadi and Fallujah last week. Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has urged residents to expel the militants to preempt the need for a government offensive. The United States is rushing air-to-ground missiles and surveillance drones to Mr. Maliki's forces to help with the fight. Egypt is set to resume the trial of former Islamist President Mohamed Morsi on Wednesday. Mr. Morsi was ousted in a military coup last July. He is charged with inciting the killing of anti-government protesters while he was in office in 2012. But supporters of his Muslim Brotherhood movement insist that Mr. Morsi is still Egypt's legitimate leader. Henry Ridgwell reports for VOA from London.
Protests by supporters of former President Mohamed Morsi have been building ahead of the resumption of his trial. Demonstrations turned violent after Friday prayers last week, and at least 2 protesters were killed. At one point, Mr. Morsi's supporters used a hijacked bus to try to break through police lines. The unrest is a deliberate ploy by the Muslim Brotherhood, says Professor Fawaz of the London School of Economics.
The strategy of the Muslim Brotherhood is to make the situation as unstable as possible in order to really frustrate the military-led government's efforts to say, look, we have stability, we have security.
In recent weeks, there has been a series of bomb attacks on military and government targets. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
A powerful Arctic blast of air has swept across much of the United States, causing temperatures to plummet so low that thousands of schools had to shut down on Tuesday, while millions of people were forced to stay indoors. Here in Washington, the latest temperature is -8 degrees Celsius, with a wind chill of -15. As VOA's Brian Allen explains, a weather pattern called a polar vortex is causing the dramatic drop in temperatures.
In Chicago, residents renamed their city Shiberia after the temperature dipped lower than parts of Siberia.
It's really cold. It's cold, especially when you walk and in the morning, 2 or 3 minutes, your feet and your hands just get really cold.
More than half the country is feeling the effects of a dangerous blast of Arctic air, which is dropping temperatures to record lows. Camden Walker is a meteorologist with the Washington Post's Capital Weather Gang.
The polar vortex, a spinning low-pressure system of very cold air that spins over the North Pole or the South Pole. And we're currently getting affected by the North Pole polar vortex. When the jet stream kinks south, the floodgates open from the north, and we had a direct flow from the Arctic.
Brian Allen, VOA News, Washington.
U.S. medical researchers say anti-smoking measures have saved 8 million American lives since a landmark report on smoking and health was issued 50 years ago. The Journal of the American Medical Association reported on Tuesday that U.S. controls on tobacco since 1964 also have boosted the life expectancy for 40-year-olds. But the report says efforts must continue in order to cut the nation's death toll from cigarettes. China says it will allow the first privately owned banks to operate in the country this year as part of efforts to open up the state-controlled banking sector. A Chinese regulatory body announced Tuesday that investors will be allowed to own up and operate up to 5 banks in a closely supervised pilot project. Ownership will be restricted to Chinese citizens, with foreign investment being considered for the future. And in Cambodia, union leaders say garment workers will continue to strike over low wages, despite a violent crackdown by authorities last week. 5 unions say their workers will keep up the 15-day strike, demanding a salary of $160 per month. Cambodian factory owners say the work stoppage has cost them about $200 million. I'm Michael Lipin for VOA News. More on these stories at voanews.com.